Hello everybody, thanks for choosing this video to watch. Now, I have been growing spider plants both indoors and outdoors for years now, and I think I must have like 100 of them, with most of them growing outdoors on my kitchen balcony, which I like to call spider plant territory, and some others that I keep indoors. So in this video I would like to share with you 20 lessons that I have learned about growing spider plants indoors and also outdoors. Which means that this will not be your typical houseplant care guide with some things you might already know about spider plants, but probably also some spider plant facts and hacks that you might not have heard of before. In other words, what I am about to share with you in 20 different chapters is solely based on my own personal and long-time experience growing the beautiful and rewarding houseplant that is commonly called the spider plant. So let's get started right away. Okay, so my first piece of information I like to call teenage pregnancy, and it's related to flowering. As a general rule, plants flower when they reach adulthood, and it's basically a means for the plant to make sure that they will have an offspring. This is also the case, of course, for spider plants. Big and established spider plants will give you tiny white flowers that eventually turn into baby plants over time. But I have learned that even very young spider plants like this plain green baby spider plant can already produce flowers when they are really happy, which is quite amazing since in a way it's a teenage pregnancy. And finally, when it comes to flowering, I have also learned that spider plants grown outdoors flower way easier and quicker than the ones that I keep indoors. No doubt because outside they have way better lighting conditions. I even had spider plants flower in the heart of winter after a couple of very sunny days. In my experience, it's best to wait until the babies are at least like 5 centimeters before taking them off the umbilical stem. It will give them a better chance for survival once you detach them. Some babies even produce aerial roots just like aroids, which gives them of course a head start when you want to propagate them. Now, you can propagate spider plants in basically any substrate, but I have learned it's best to immediately just put them in soil, give them some water and keep the soil moist for the first month. I have lots of spider plants that I propagated in soil and I think I have a success rate of almost 100%. Now, you can water propagate baby spider plants, but there is one major downside to this. The leaves of the baby plants tend to stick together in the water, and as soon as one leaf rots, it will infect the other leaves and your baby will simply rot away. So if you decide to water propagate, keep a very close eye on your spider plants and immediately remove any rotting leaf. Now, although I just said that baby spider plants should have a decent size before you cut them off the mother plant, I did learn that the very tiny baby ones can be a perfect addition to a closed terrarium, where they will survive and even thrive because of the closed humid environment. Obviously, at a certain point the spider plant will outgrow the terrarium and you will have to take it out, but as long as they are small they make for great terrarium plants. In my experience, spider plants are very resilient and they even thrive on neglect. This is especially the case when you grow them outdoors. You can just put them anywhere, in any substrate and in any spot, they will survive. If you forget to water them, they will forgive you without any problem. So spider plants, in my experience, are truly one of the best survivors in the plant world. I mainly propagate my baby spider plants in plastic cups. And in the past I kept some of them way too long in these cups, to a point that they were totally rootbound in the cup. And they actually really seemed to like that and even flower, because of the fact that they were rootbound. How much light do spider plants need, or how much light can they endure? Spider plants, in my experience, are not fussy about light, so even in low light conditions they will survive. Indoors, I have found out that they are perfectly happy with artificial light, so you can grow them under a growing light without any problem. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, what about full direct sunlight? Now, in my experience, spider plants love a lot of sun and even full direct sunlight. Many of my spider plants outdoors have been hit for many hours with direct sun, and I never had an issue with any leaf burn because of the sun. Don't tell that you heard it from me, but spider plants have a secret weapon hidden in the soil. And of course I'm talking about their bulbous, tuberous roots, and these roots in my experience have two huge benefits. Firstly, when spider plants grow outside and it's freezing cold in wintertime, the leaves might turn brown and the whole part of the plant above the soil will die off. But I have seen many times how spider plants apparently were killed by frost, and then in springtime they just pop back up as if nothing happened. The reason is that in the soil these tuberous roots actually did survive the frost, and so in spring they just perform a miraculous resurrection. But this is not the end of the story, because another consequence of these tuberous roots is that from time to time brand new baby plants pop out of the soil just like that. Just like these two small ones here on the left. So spider plants not only reproduce by flowering, they also reproduce by making new plants popping up from the soil. So I think it's quite amazing how a plant has a main way to reproduce, and on top of that it has also a backup plan. Now the next item might be a bit controversial, and as I said before, this is all based on my own experience with spider plants, but I have never ever had a spider plant with any type of disease or pest, both indoors and outdoors. As far as I can tell, the strongest spider plant species is the plain green one, also called the green shamrock spider plant. They are the fastest growers, the most resilient ones, and they flower the easiest. A good second best is the reversed variegated spider plant, which is the one with the green stripe in the center. Finally, the bronze medal goes to the regularly variegated one, which has the white central stripe, which is the vitatum spider plant. We all know that each family has at least one total diva, like this Monstera standleyana, so we also got the fussiest spider plant, which in my opinion is definitely this fire flash spider plant, also called mandarin or chlorophytum, orchidastrum or amaniense. So the complicated botanical name fits this fussy character of this spider plant perfectly. Now let's start with the only positive thing about the fire flash spider plant. When it looks pristine, which in my experience it never does, it's a stunning houseplant, especially because of the bright orange stems. So over now to the many downsides of this fire flash. Now I'm not gonna mention all of them because the video would become too long, so let me just mention a few. First of all, this spider plant requires rainwater or distilled water if you want to avoid brown spots on the leaves, and trust me, these brown spots are very eager to appear. So distilled water for me is really a deal breaker, since all my other spider plants are perfectly happy with just good old tap water. So to me this is already a huge red flag. Secondly, I have moved my fire flash around in my place so many times, and until now I have not found the perfect spot for it. I just can't seem to find out where it wants to be, which is really frustrating. Okay, so one last negative thing and then I'll stop. These divas don't even produce the cascading baby plants like all other decent spider plants do. I mean, what is that about? It's already super difficult to keep the mother plant in any decent shape, and on top of that we don't get any babies. So the only way to propagate is by division of the plant or by seed, which just seems too much work for me. So in conclusion, I can tell you I only have the one Fireflash spider plant and I'm keeping it indoors since I'm pretty sure that if I would put it outside it would totally disintegrate upon the first ray of sunlight. Now, there are almost 200 different species of spider plants, and yet it seems that only a small dozen or even less are more or less widely available on the houseplant market. So if you want to have an original collection of a certain plant genus, the spider plant is an interesting option. Personally, until now, I mainly collect philodendron species, but more and more I'm thinking about diving into the idea of collecting rare spider plant species. And in the meanwhile, I will just stick to the 5 species that I own currently of the spider plant. I have noticed that within one specific spider plant species, the looks of the plant can be quite different, and I will show you 2 examples of this. First of all, we got the plain green spider plant. Now, I have bright or dark green spider plants of this species, but I also have other ones that display a really light and pale shade of green. I'm not sure why this is, perhaps they are different species anyway, or perhaps it's a matter of the amount of light that reaches the plant. In any case, it makes for a nice difference in the color palette of the spider plant. A second example is the variegated spider plant, which is the one with a white stripe in the center. Normally the leaves are quite white, but I have this guy right here with leaves that are clearly way more narrow than the other one, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, let's move to chapter 15. I found out that when you grow spider plant indoors, they are the perfect companion plant to use in mixed pots with aroids, just like this one here. The big advantage here is that the spider plant will basically live all its life at the bottom, since it doesn't climb, so over time it will camouflage the naked stem of the aroids at the bottom, since many aroids tend to let go of their oldest leaves, and this is where the spider plant comes in to camouflage that naked aroid stem. I like to group different spider plants together in one container, but you can perfectly use them in combination with totally different plant species, like this purple Tradescantia pallida here, that also tends to thrive on neglect and, believe it or not, has the exact same trick as the spider plant to resurrect in spring after dying off completely in winter because of the frost. A lot of the spider plants that I grow indoors are 100% aquatic, meaning that they have been living in nothing but water for years. Now, the only thing to look out for when you grow spider plants in water, as I said before, is to always check for rotting leaves in the water. This does take a little bit of discipline, but if you don't remove the rotting leaves immediately, they can destroy the whole plant in no time. Now, if you would ask me whether ultimately spider plants do a better job indoors or outdoors, I would say they definitely do better outdoors, mainly because of the better light they get outdoors. Outdoors, my spider plants tend to grow faster and bigger. They become more resistant, they flower earlier and easier outside, and as I said before, they even have a secret weapon against the freezing cold in wintertime. This is the entrance of my apartment building. It looks bright because today is a sunny day, but normally this is quite a low light area. And yet these plain green spider plants thrive here. They even flower and produce many babies. And I'm the only one to remember to water them from time to time, and as a salary I take some baby cuttings. Finally, when it comes to the lifespan of spider plants, you will often hear that spider plants can last for many decades, and this is true. but I would even say that they can last eternally, and I will tell you why. As I previously mentioned, spider plants have these tuberous roots stashed away in the soil, and from time to time these bulbous structures will send new plants popping up from the soil. So what you see above the soil is a new plant emerging, but technically this so-called new plant is connected to the bulbous root of the mother plant. So in that way, in the end, it is the same plant after all. So by doing this, the spider plant has the capability to aim for eternity. And in my opinion, this is the perfect example of the pure magic that comes from Mother Nature. Okay, I think that's all I know about spider plants. If you made it this far in the video, you probably had your dose of spider plant videos, so I'm showing you something else right now. I want to thank you once again for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking it and or subscribing to my channel. For now, I wish you a very nice day and I hope to see you back on my channel real soon. Bye bye.